I killed 3 lavender plants before anybody told me this, and here is the part that made it maddening. I was doing everything right. I had read the articles. Full sun, all day, the hottest spot in the yard. Gritty, sharp draining soil on a slight mound. No fertilizer, ever. Barely any water once they were established. Gravel around the base instead of bark mulch. Every single rule followed. And every one of those plants did the same thing. Year 1, beautiful. Year 2, gorgeous, the best thing in the garden. Year 3, a little loose in the middle. Year 4, sprawling open with bare gray wood showing at the bottom. Year 5, a split, woody, ugly wreck flowering only at the tips, and I pulled it out and started again. I assumed that was just lavender. I thought it was a short-lived plant, and everyone quietly replaced theirs. Then I got talking to somebody who grows it commercially, and she said one sentence that reorganized everything I understood about this plant. She said, "Most home gardeners are far too tentative with the shears, especially in the early years." And then she explained what pruning lavender actually is, and it is not what I thought it was, and it is not what most of you think it is either. I had been doing a version of it once a year, and being gentle about it, because being gentle felt respectful. And that gentleness was exactly what killed them. Now, let me be honest about the title before we go further, because that is what this channel does. Nobody can hand you a number. There is no 100 times. But here is the real, documented difference, and it is dramatic enough that I do not need to exaggerate it. The difference between pruning lavender the way most people do and the way growers do is the difference between a plant that looks good for about 5 years and a plant that is still flowering at 15. Same variety, same soil, same sun. And it comes down to one habit. So let me show you what she told me. It starts with understanding what is actually happening inside that plant. Here is the thing she made me understand, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. When you prune lavender, you are not tidying a plant. You are building a skeleton, and that skeleton is permanent. Let me explain. Lavender is a subshrub, which means it is 2 plants stacked together. Down at the bottom is hard, brown, woody framework. Up on top is soft green growth, this year's leaves and flowers. And in between the two, there is a band. A zone of living, green stem that still carries dormant buds, the part of the plant that is actually capable of pushing new growth. That band is everything. It is the only place on the plant where a cut produces anything. Cut above it, and you are just trimming. Cut below it, into the bare brown, and nothing grows back, ever. Now here is the mechanism that was killing my plants, and nobody had ever explained it to me. That green zone does not stay put. Every year, as the stems age and lignify from the bottom up, the band of living green climbs a little higher on the plant, and if you do not cut back into it each year, it keeps climbing. Year by year, the wood rises, the green retreats upward, and eventually you are left with a thin fringe of green growth sitting on top of 2 feet of bare gray timber. And at that point, there is nothing to be done. No cut recovers it. The plant is architecturally finished. So the woody base is not a defect. It is the skeleton, and it is permanent, and you are building it whether you pay attention or not. Every year you either keep it short and compact and dense, or you let it grow taller and looser and further out of reach. That is the whole game. That is what pruning lavender actually is. And here is what I had been doing instead. Here is what I had been doing, and I suspect a lot of you are doing the same thing, because it feels like pruning, and it looks like pruning, and it is not pruning. I was deadheading. Once a year, in late summer, I would go out with the snips and take off the spent flower stalks. I would follow each stem down past the faded flower, snip it just below the bloom, and move on. The plant looked tidier afterward. The dead brown spikes were gone. I felt like I had done the job, and I had removed almost nothing. Because on a lavender, the flower stalk is the top few inches of a much longer stem, Cutting the flower off takes away the spike and leaves the entire season's stem growth standing. So every year I removed a couple of inches and left 5, and every year the plant got a little taller, a little looser, and the green zone crept a little further up. I was watching my plants sprawl and never once connecting it to the fact that I was barely cutting them. That is the tentative pruning the grower was talking about, and it is completely understandable because cutting a healthy, thriving plant hard feels wrong. It feels destructive. You paid for that plant. It is finally doing well. Everything in you says, take a little off, be careful, do not hurt it. But hear this clearly, because it is the entire lesson. With lavender, gentle is not kind. Gentle is the thing that ends the plant early. A tentatively pruned lavender and an unpruned lavender end up in almost the same place, just at slightly different speeds. Both of them sprawl, both go woody from the bottom, both split open in the middle, and both are finished in 5 or 6 years. So the fix is not a different technique. It is the same technique, done properly, twice a year, with real conviction. 2 cuts, and they do different jobs. Let me give you the first one, because it is the big one. Cut 1. The structural cut. This is the hard one, the important one, and it happens right after the main bloom finishes. For English lavender, that is usually somewhere in July. For the big lavandines, it comes later, and for Spanish lavender earlier, so watch your plant, not the calendar. When the color drains out of the spikes and the show is over, that is your window. And here is how much to take. About 1/3 of the plant, not 1/3 of the flower stalks. 1/3 of the whole plant's height, cutting into this season's green growth. If you are working a big lavandine with long stems, you can take up to 1/2. That is a real cut. When you step back, the plant should look noticeably, almost uncomfortably smaller. Now, where exactly? You are cutting into green, always, and the standard guide is about 2 inches above where the brown wood begins. 2 inches of green left standing above the skeleton. Look at each handful of stems as you go, and check that you are leaving green leaves below your cut, because this is where the whole thing lives or dies. Cut into that bare brown wood, below all the green, and that stem is finished. It will not resprout. There are no dormant buds down there to wake up, and if you do it across the whole plant, you have killed it. So the rule that governs the entire operation is 5 words. Cut into the green, never the brown. Here is the technique that makes it fast. Do not work stem by stem, you will be out there all afternoon. Grab a handful of stems in one hand, gather them up, and cut the whole bunch at once with sharp bypass pruners, or use hedge shears on a big established plant. Work your way around the plant in handfuls. And now the part I had completely missed, which is the shape. You are not cutting a flat top. You are sculpting a dome. A rounded, mounded mushroom cap, with the outer stems left slightly longer than the ones in the middle. So the whole plant is a firm, rounded cushion. And that shape is not decoration. It is doing 3 jobs. It sheds water and snow, so winter weight slides off the plant instead of sitting on top of it and splaying the branches apart. It keeps the center supported, so the plant does not split open down the middle, which is how most lavenders die. And because you have shortened everything evenly, the plant branches out from all over rather than racing upward from a few long stems. That last point is what stronger actually means here, and it is worth naming. This cut makes the plant branch and bush out, which gives you more stems, and those stems are sturdier and far less likely to flop. That is not a vague promise. That is the mechanical result of shortening the growth every year. And here is the payoff. You have just reset the skeleton. Instead of the woody base gaining 4 or 5 inches this year, it gains almost nothing, because you took the season's growth back off before it could turn to wood. Do that every single year, and that framework stays low, tight, and compact, with the green zone right where you can reach it. That is a plant that is still going at 15 years. Now, before I give you the second cut, one quick word. Quick one, because this whole video comes down to a single idea, and it is bigger than lavender. One cut, made at the right moment in the right place, decides what that plant does for the next decade. And the same cut, made confidently and wrongly, quietly costs you everything, and you will not find out for months. There is one plant in every garden where that is truer than anywhere else. The hydrangea. Because a hydrangea is 6 different plants wearing one name, and each type carries its flower buds at a different time and on different wood. Cut the wrong type at the wrong moment, doing exactly what a tidy, conscientious gardener would do, and you will not kill it. It comes back next spring green and lush and completely healthy, and it gives you nothing. Not one flower. You removed next summer's blooms with your own hands and had no way of knowing. It is the most common gardening complaint there is. So I wrote the honest version down. It is called the Hydrangea Mastery Guide. All 6 types, told apart in 90 seconds, because every mistake starts with not knowing which one you own. The prune by type calendar, so the cut you make is the right one for the plant in front of you. The real reason the color changes, which is not the pH, whatever you were told. And the 5 myths that waste an entire season. 29 pages, $27, instant PDF, 7-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the description at waltgreer.com. And it ends the way this channel always ends. With the part nobody selling you something will print. 4 of the 6 types cannot change color at all, no matter what you pour on them. Fertilizer will never fix a hydrangea that will not bloom, because a guide that only tells you what to do is only half a guide. Now, back to your lavender and the second cut. Because 1 cut a year is what I was doing wrong, even after I started cutting properly. Cut 2. The spring cut. And this is the one almost nobody does, including me, for years after I had learned to make the first one properly. Here is the job it does, and it is different from the first cut. Over winter, a few things happen to that neat dome you shaped in summer. The outermost tips take frost damage and die back a little, going brown and brittle. Snow and rain press on the plant, and some growth escapes the shape, sticking out beyond the mound. So in early spring, as the plant is waking up and you can see the first fresh growth coming, you go back in. This pass is lighter than the summer one. You are not taking a third off again. You are tidying the dome. Cut off the winter-killed tips, take out anything dead or damaged, and trim back whatever has crept outside the shape, so you are handing the plant a clean, compact, rounded starting point for the season. And exactly the same rule applies. Green only, never into the brown. Timing matters. Do it early, as growth is beginning, so the plant has the whole season to rebuild and to set flowers. Leave it too late, and you are cutting off the growth that was about to carry this year's blooms. And here is the honest fork, because for a chunk of you, the 2 cuts flip around. If you garden somewhere with short summers and early frosts, doing a hard structural cut after flowering is risky because the tender new growth it triggers will not harden before the cold comes. So in those regions, growers do the opposite. After the flowers fade, deadhead only, just take the spent spikes off. Then make your one real annual trim in late winter or early spring instead, when there is a full season ahead of it. So the principle holds everywhere, even when the calendar moves. Once a year, minimum, that plant gets a genuine cut back into the green, hard enough to reset the framework. Twice, if your season allows it. And the reason both cuts matter is that skipping either one lets the wood gain ground, and wood gained is never given back. Now, the years when all of this counts the most. Now, the part I wish somebody had told me on day 1, because this is where a lavender's whole life is decided, and it is over before most people realize it started. The first 3 years. Here is what is happening in those years. A young lavender is not just growing. It is laying down the permanent woody framework it will carry for the rest of its life. Every stem that hardens in years 1, 2, and 3 becomes part of that skeleton, and where those stems sit is where the plant is stuck. So watch what happens if you leave a young plant alone, which is exactly what everybody does, because a young lavender looks great and cutting it feels absurd. It shoots branches up and out, long and unchecked. Those branches get heavy and they fall outward to the sides, and then they harden in that position. So instead of a tight, compact mound with a supported center, you have a handful of long, woody arms sprawling haphazardly out from the middle. That plant is now permanently the wrong shape at 2 years old, and there is no fixing it, because you cannot cut those arms back into the wood. That is what happened to every one of the lavenders I lost. They were doomed by year 2, and I did not know it until year 5. So here is the discipline. Prune from the very first year, and prune every year without fail through the early years. Year 1 is lighter. You are not taking a third off a small plant. You are training it, trimming lightly to encourage it to branch low and to start it in that rounded shape. Then, from year 2 on, the full regime, a real structural cut and a spring tidy. And here is the reward for that discipline. By the time that plant is 3 or 4 years old, the woody mound at its center is compact, dense, and healthy, low enough and strong enough to carry snow and come through winter and push out a full season of flowers. You built that. It is not luck. Now, the question a lot of you are shouting at the screen. The question is, what if mine is already woody? Bare arms, split middle, green only at the tips. Can I fix it? I will give you the honest answer, because that is the only reason to watch this channel instead of one that tells you what you want to hear. Sometimes, partly. Often, no. Here is the test. Look closely at the woody stems and hunt for green. Not the green up at the tips, I mean small new shoots pushing out of the old wood itself. If you find some, there is life in that stem, and you have something to work with. If a stem is completely bare and brown with no new growth anywhere on it, that stem is dead ground, and no cut brings it back. Where there is green, work gradually, over 2 or 3 years. One branch at a time, taking each back by a third or a half, always leaving green leaves on every branch you touch, slowly coaxing the plant back toward a mound. What you must not do is the decisive thing. Look at that mess. Cut the whole plant back hard into the wood and expect a renovation. That is not a renovation. That is an execution. And here is the verdict. Straight. A lavender, whose green zone has retreated to a thin fringe on top of long bare arms, cannot be reliably rejuvenated. Unlike a rose, lavender does not hold reserve buds down in the old wood, so there is nothing waiting to be released. Pruning may buy that plant a couple more years. It will not give you back the plant you had. At that point, the right move, and I have done this myself, is to take cuttings off it, root them, and start again, this time from year 1 with the shears. So let me pull it all together. Before we finish, do one thing for me. Think of one person you know with a lavender going bare and sprawling at the bottom, who thinks that is just what lavender does. Send them this video, just the link. Because that is what I thought, for 3 plants and about 8 years, and nobody told me otherwise. Now here is the whole thing, in one idea. You are not maintaining a lavender. You are building its skeleton. That woody frame is permanent, and every year you either keep it low and tight, or let it climb further out of your reach. So, twice a year, with real conviction. After the flowers fade, the structural cut, a full third of the plant, 2 inches above the wood, shaped into a rounded dome with the outer stems a little longer than the center. Then, in early spring, the lighter pass, clearing the winter damage and anything that has escaped the shape. And if your summers are short, flip it. Deadhead only after bloom and make your one real cut in late winter. Green only. Never the brown. And be far less gentle than feels right, because gentle is what kills these plants. And do it from year 1, every year, without skipping, because the first 3 years build the frame that the next 15 sit on. That is the whole thing. No 100 times, no miracle, no product. Just the difference between a plant that looks good for 5 years and one still flowering at 15, with sturdier stems that do not flop, on the same soil, in the same sun, from the same gardener. It was never that I had bad luck with lavender. It was that I was too polite with the shears. So subscribe and stick around. We do this the honest way here in the Forgotten Knowledge Library. Real horticulture, exact amounts, and we tell you straight, including when a plant is genuinely past saving. It is free, and it always will be. Next time, another plant where the kindest looking choice is the one doing the damage. Now go out to your lavender, get your hand down into it, and find where the green ends and the brown begins. Everything starts there. I'll see you in the next one.